Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
This is episode number 300 for Flipping Houses for Rookies.
What? What?
Peter, Dim, I'm telling you, you're getting old, man.
That's what I was thinking. I was in tears this morning. Like, what's going on? What the hell happened? I turned around and this happened. 300.
Years later. All right, so episode...
You just say three.
Yeah. No, it's 300.
Yeah.
Episode number 300. Here is the title. Stop your being broke insanity by using these 10 secret rookie rules. Here's the description. Every successful business has certain guideposts or rules to follow that gets desired results. What you're about to hear is 30 plus years of trial and error to come out with these 10 main activities that will land you the exact practices which will put you in the path of progress so deals will fall in your lap. As I look back, I began to notice that these 10 common factors, when followed, were actually responsible for our highest moments of success and happiness to a large extent, but, it's a big one, but be careful because you may hear them and think they are not vital to your transactions. Or more importantly, not the number one reason you are doing deals. But I promise, if you go astray from these proven and tested principles, you'll start to notice things getting harder and harder. Even weird. That is when you should realize the profit train is off its tracks. And you should put all your attention on getting these 10 points back into practice on a daily basis.
Sounds good, Mr. Hawthorne.
Here we go.
I'm going to make a list of how many I might or might not be doing. Don't tell anybody, though.
Good.
Don't
Okay.
tell anybody. That's scary. What if I'm doing them all wrong?
We'll soon find out.
I think I'm doing some of them, but I might need to add a few more to get more gravy in my train.
More gravy in your train. There you go.
Yeah.
So let's just do our housekeeping first. So there is a link in your description of where you're watching this podcast or where you are listening to this podcast. In the very first sentence, there's a link. And I'll have you know that it's a link I've never ever used before. It actually has some example calls on there and some really cool things that I used to charge over $100 for. So it's there, and it's exactly pertaining to this podcast. Also, every Thursday morning, Eastern Standard Time, 9:30 a.m., we record this podcast, and it gets launched the following Monday onto the podcast platforms. If you would like to join us in the live stream, you can go to Facebook or YouTube, type in Flipping Houses for Rookies at 9:30 a.m., and you will see us live streaming. If you put your questions in the comments or in the chat, you'll be able to speak to us while we're on the call. So if you wanted to be part of the podcast, that's a way to do it. You can ask questions. There's a big screen in front of me so I can see your questions. Also, make sure you subscribe to us and you like us wherever you're watching us. Okay? So here we go. End of housekeeping.
Okay, house is clean.
The house is clean. Pete, I'm going to start off with a total billism today.
Why not? Why hold back?
Total
Go for it.
billism.
Go ahead. Go right
you're gonna
ahead.
like you're gonna
Why
like
hold
this
back?
one. You're gonna like this one. Here we go. One. It's actually two sentences. It's one sentence with a comma, but it's two sentences.
Yeah, it'd be better make that a semicolon, Mr. Hawthorne.
Okay. Here we go.
What?
Training means learning the rules. Experience means learning the exceptions.
Ooh, I wasn't expecting that. Oh,
Training
okay.
means learning the rules.
Yeah.
Experience means learning the exceptions.
Yeah. That's why there's rules and laws, because there is exceptions. If there wasn't, you wouldn't need them.
Exactly.
Oh, that's crazy. Evil.
With that said, let's jump right into the 10 secret rookie creative real estate rules. No messing around today. We're going to go right into the rules.
Go ahead. 300 episodes in the making, folks.
Number 1, expose yourself.
Excuse me?
Hey, get your
Hey.
mind out of the gutter.
You're the one who said it. What are you talking about?
Expose yourself. Most of my success with deals or whatever I'm doing, other business adventures or whatever I'm doing, did not come from ventures I originally started. But from opportunities that came about as a result of our outflow. Right?
Yep.
So when I first got into real estate, I was like most of our listeners, I just wanted a $30,000 check.
Sure.
I had no idea all these years later that I would be doing 300 podcasts with you. I had no idea that I was going to be teaching it. I had no idea that I would have done hundreds of deals. I had no idea that I would have done thousands of offers, face to face, nose to nose, toe to toe. I had no idea that there was going to be a thing called COVID and we were going to have to do it virtually.
Or the internet. Yeah. At all.
You know, I just hired a girl 2 days ago from somebody that we met at an event, and she's deal hunting for me on the internet, you know, like on Facebook and LinkedIn and all those places, and Zillow. And she sent me some leads last night. And here's the point that I'm trying to make. Normally, I would tell her, "Oh yeah, our farm market is like Hartford, Connecticut." But I'm like, I don't, and I talked to her about that. I don't think I think it's a waste of her time because she's getting paid straight commission.
Yeah.
So much per lead that I buy, right?
Sure.
So here's my point. Had I just done that, I don't think our relationship would be so well. But because I'm in Hartford, Connecticut, I'm in New Haven, Connecticut, I'm in Akron in Cleveland, Ohio, which is the same place. You know, they're next door to one another. And Fayetteville, North Carolina. So I gave her Fayetteville, North Carolina, and she sent me 5 leads last night. Now, I wouldn't have known that when I first started out. My point is that most of my success, right, does not come from ventures I originally started. What I have learned in business is that whatever mental image picture you have in your head, whatever you're looking at, and you're always, believe it or not, everything here comes from a mental image picture. Now, you know, you obviously have serial killers. Those are distorted mental image pictures, but they come from mental image pictures.
Yeah.
Right? You have, you know, great people that have done amazing things, you know, humanitarians. Amazon came from a mental image picture. Donald Trump being president came from a mental image picture. You know what I mean? Whatever you have in your environment came from a mental image picture, something you thought of consciously or unconsciously.
Yeah,
That's the
either
trick.
one. Either one.
That's the trick, because sometimes they're unconscious and you don't know them. They're below your awareness level,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know, you ever hear this? I don't know why I'm doing this, but my gut's telling me I just need to do it.
Yeah, but is it your gut or your cuckoo brain?
Yeah, it's your below conscious, subconscious level, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you know as well as I do that people do have, I'll call it spiritual intuition and insight, which is fine. But you can also have just nutty like reactions in the back of your head that are cuckoo-ville.
Right.
And maybe you can't tell which is which sometimes. So good luck on trusting it or not until you get better control of that kind of thing.
Exactly right. So, the important natural law here is that you need to outflow. You always need to reach out and let people know what you're doing and let them know about your mental image pictures. Let them know that you're trying to buy real estate. Right? So the weirdness of this is, which is the important natural law, is the way or place or channel you outflow or expose yourself on almost always is not the same way or place or channel you receive the inflow.
No, absolutely true. Crazy as that is, it happened to me this week.
Do tell.
Well, two real historical ones. The first house that I bought came from a letter that Mary and I were sending out. You and I went to the house, talked to the guy, the photographer from the Stephen Colbert Show, dropping names, right?
Yep.
And he said, I don't know, I think I'll keep the house for a while. Okay, fine. On the way out the door, you say, oh, by the way, which you didn't always do. Sometimes you did, sometimes you didn't. You said, by the way, do you know anybody that might be selling a house? He goes, yeah, my buddy around the corner.
Yeah, I don't remember it that way. I remember it a little differently. It is exactly what you say. But the reason why I asked the question is because he was raving about how we helped him on the cost to sell, and he had no idea. And he was like, how come nobody ever taught us that? How come I didn't know that? I'm trying to sell my house. I don't know how much it cost me. These realtors don't tell me this.
Yep.
So it struck in my head, oh, okay, well, is there somebody else that you think we should talk to about that or show them? You know somebody else that has a house for sale? That's what I remember.
Well, I didn't know what was going on in your head. I just heard what came out of your mouth. And you maybe did that half the time in houses. You didn't always do that, you know.
Right.
You should, but we don't do everything every time. It's a lot of things to do. But it turned out the house is around the corner. We bought it. We made a nice chunk of cash on it. It was the first deal we did. And it was just, what if you hadn't said that? We weren't expecting that. It was right, literally around the corner. The other thing that happened to me is I put some ads. I have my other music business. I put some ads in the newspaper, which I hadn't done in years. I threw it in there. And then 2 days later, I got an email from a neighbor up the street that contacted me a year ago for lessons for his kid. He was too young. They were here yesterday, popped me a check, and a year later.
Nice.
So I put an ad in the paper over here, and it comes in over there. Who cares? So you outflow. So I got, just more outflow. And I put some Craigslist ads out for that and for real estate. I have a Craigslist out floating and looking for more places to put it. Just put stuff out there. You don't know where things are going to come from. Who cares? Just get it out there. I mean, people have to talk to you. How do you get somebody to talk to you? They better see you. If they don't see you, they don't talk to you. So
Exactly.
make sure they see you. Be visible.
So let's divert for 1 second. John Patterson put in the chat.
Fayetteville.
There's two things I want to talk about here. So he says Fayetteville, question mark. My family is in Fayetteville in Sanford, North Carolina. So I don't know where you are, John, but if you have someone that we can use for boots on the ground when we find a property there, send me a support ticket with a contact information, and maybe you could be of help to us, okay? Or we could be of help to you. But more importantly, Peter, I would like to bring to your attention that you have a fan.
A fan?
Look at his picture. It's a musical instrument.
Oh, yeah. We got ourselves a violin there.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I
Peter
played
has-
violin in 2 symphonies when I was a kid. I did.
Nice. All right, good.
Nice
Back to
going,
business.
John.
Back to business. So here's what happens. Basically, Mother Nature hates a vacuum. So what Peter's saying is if you outflow enough, it will create this unseen vacuum, like a void, like a hole, like a negative pressure type of thing. Mm-hmm. And one way or another, something comes in to fill in that vacuum or empty space.
That's an interesting way to put it. That's That's good enough. Yeah.
right? So if you outflow, Mother Nature doesn't like that emptiness, that black hole.
Yeah.
So just like what you're saying, you outflow in a newspaper, but the next door neighbor comes over and says, "Hey," or you're at a party and they're like, "Really? How about this guy?" But it didn't come in on the yellow letters you sent out or the signs.
Literally, he drove by like a day later in his pickup truck. I had no idea who it was. I'm in the yard doing yard work, putting mulch on my beds. He stops the car with the little kid in the seat and waves to me. I wave back. He drives. I have no idea who it was, and he called me later. I mean, this is weird. Like, you front yard people waving from the car. Like, can we have?
Yep.
Yeah.
It
So
happens.
don't be afraid to communicate.
So expose yourself. And I don't mean taking your clothes off and
So can
showing
we call
your
it
junk.
exposure? It sounds a little better.
No, it's fun. Expose yourself. I don't mean
God.
showing your junk to the public. I mean, I'm talking about getting out there and outflowing. But
Can I give me your sister's phone number? I want to have her go in there and spank you. Come on.
yeah,
that worse?
I'm in Florida, guys. I've been down here for a couple weeks, and I've been here for 3 weeks, and I'm here for another couple weeks with my family, and I'm at my sister's house. So that's
Yeah,
what
check
I
the
sent
pelican in the back of you
Yeah,
on the wall.
yeah. I'm in one of the
Florida.
offices. Yeah. So, anyways, here's something that I covered last night on the meetup, because we do a meetup every third Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. and I do a bunch of free training there. You can find that if you want by going to Flipping Houses for Rickies. There's a link right on the very top of the page. It says sign up for the meetup. But here's one thing that I brought up that we don't talk about enough because it spooks people. But when you do outflow, you don't want to just pick one channel. Right. You can't just do one marketing campaign and expect to live off of it. Now, you could do one marketing campaign and buy one house every 6 months, or maybe one house every 2 years, depending on how much you're doing. But and that's our problem right now, which we're in the middle of fixing because I'm changing some of that. In fact, I'm going to work on that stuff this afternoon. You have to have multiple media, multiple outflows. Like for example, we might do texting, we might do yellow letters, we might do. Right now, we're working on. I'm going to be working on this afternoon. Probate, working on probate leads. How do you find probate leads? And the way we do it is through lawyers and stuff like that. I did one of my, matter of fact, I think I'm going to do that again this coming month. I'm going to do finding probate leads again because it's a pretty cool system.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we do foreclosure, pre-foreclosure, we do divorce. There's all different ways that we outflow, but I try to keep minimum 3 or 4. When we're busy, I try to do 3 or 4. When we're not busy, we need to crank it up and do more. And that's what I'm working on right now is all that stuff. So you want to have consistent income. You have to get out there and do outflow. Now, when we were at an event, we were just at an event not too long ago. And one of the things that I noticed is the guys that are doing a bunch of leads right now are the guys that are spending money for advertising. Now they're doing 5, 6, 7 lead deals a month, but they're spending $10,000 a month to do it or $15,000 a month to do it. Right? Now I'm not saying you have to do that, but I'm just saying.
Well, not to start, but you
the point
can't do it to start if you don't have money. But how do you get there?
The point that I'm trying to make is to do 6 or 7 leads. You're going to spend $1,000, $1,500 per lead to find them, right? So that's on a grand scale, and like I said in the beginning, you don't need to do that. But once you start making money, you should take a portion of your income and spend it on marketing. All right, good. Number 2, don't rely on the opinions of others. As I do these, Peter, you're going to be like, yeah. You've heard me complain about these or talk about these. We've done podcasts on some of them, right? So don't rely.
That's a big problem. That's a big problem. We read books. How many people talk about that in their books, right? Because it happens. Damn people.
So, of course, I have to do this Bill style.
Of course.
Okay. So the basic rule here is all sellers are liars. until they start signing documents or doing exactly as you request, then they're not a liar. The term we use is, if it is not in writing, it's not true.
Yep.
Okay, and even then, it's a problem. Because we could go through our whole system like we did last night. Last night was amazing that way, all the different how you prospect and right, and when you do what, where. I did it on a mind map, and it was just incredible.
You ran the whole sequence from the end to the beginning. How do we get? Everybody wants to get to the end, right? The check. But how do you get there? You don't just wake up one morning, ooh, the check. But you ran the whole thing in backward sequence, step by step. You blew everybody away. I've worked on that with you a few times. But the way you did it last night, and the way what people saw, it's like, thank God somebody explained the whole thing so you can at least see what the heck I'm trying to do.
Well, we started at the end, the profit check, and we reverse engineered it. So what would have to happen right before this to get success? And what would have to happen right before that to get success? And we ran it backwards. So when we got done, it was like a checklist, right? Yeah. And we did it together. I mean, I did most of it. But anyways, if it's not in writing, it's not true. So when you do a closing call, the end of the closing call is what the price is, you agreed on, what the term is, the payments, what the duration of the payments are going to be, and whether they want to deposit. And then you could write what we call a memorandum. The memorandum it's a non-legal document that takes the conversation from a conversation to something in writing. Right?
Yeah, should be.
If they don't sign it, they were just yesing you and they were lying to you on the call. If they sign it, their intentions are, I want to keep going. By the way, as we talked about last night on the call, you do not talk about the house in a closing call. The house is irrelevant. It's a rapport builder. How many bathrooms does it have? How many kitchens? It's a rapport builder. I've been recently doing multiple Zoom calls with my private coaching clients, and I just recently added my month deal hunting masteries. These guys are paying $97 a month, and they have the chance to watch me or do a closing call with me 3 or 4 times a week. That's incredible bonus. That's an incredible bonus, right?
It is.
But the point is that when you listen to me on the phone, I go after the finances first. Like, would you consider this, or how about that? Would you consider this? Would you consider that? Would you consider this? Would you consider? And I don't talk about the house, because once I get the memorandum signed and I get their intentions of the money, I then go into the deal meeting, and the deal meeting is where I qualify the house, and I go check and make sure things are done. I haven't signed a deal yet, so I can blow the deal up anytime I want.
Yeah. The way I look at it, what's the difference about the house if they won't sell it to you? What's the difference?
Exactly.
They don't want to do business with you. They don't want to do monthly payments or a discount or something that we can pull off. Who cares?
Exactly right.
What's the difference?
So when I say all sellers are liars, by the way, I don't mean they are intentionally lying. They're just giving you opinions.
Well, they're making it look good. It's like a dating site, They use somebody else's picture. They lie about their age, the car they drive, the house in Malibu on the beach.
But it's not always. Some people are like that, but not everybody. So what I'm saying here is it's just their opinions, which, by the way, the definition of opinion is a view or judgment about something, not necessarily based on fact or knowledge.
Sure.
Like, my house is worth $300,000 because they're selling for that in the neighborhood. Now, their fact is their next door neighbor told them that. They never went and checked.
Yeah, it might be for sale for that, but are people paying that is another thing, right?
Yeah. So
they're listed for, who cares? Listed. What happened?
Right. So you have to clarify what's opinion and what's fact, which is something else we'll cover in a few minutes. But the point is that they're not intentionally lying all the time. They're just giving you opinions that they believe, but are not necessarily true. So when I say all sellers are liars, that's what I mean. Not necessarily they're vicious or they're evil or they're trying to trick you. Sometimes it's just they're imbued into some
Well, it
group
could be wishful
think.
thinking, if nothing else.
Yeah, or some group think, like, like they're at the Rotary Club and they all talk about real estate, and the Rotary Club says, "Oh, well, my house is worth 500,000," right? And so right away, well, if their house is worth 500,000, mine's worth 400,000,
Yeah.
and they do this weird calculation in their head. Another thing that happens a lot, and then we'll move on, is because I'm chatting too much on each one. Another thing that happens a lot is how much they boost the number to cover their closing costs. So they really want 275, but they're asking 350 because they don't know how much the closing costs are.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right? So anyways, all right.
Yeah.
Number 3. So that makes sense.
Sure.
All right. So don't rely on the opinions of others. That's number 2. Number 3, be persevering. Keep digging. This is one of the most important rules in creative real estate. Most rookies get within inches of success and suddenly quit. You have to believe in yourself, the idea, the plan, and don't stop until you just can't go no more, and then try harder. Right? So you have to believe. So here's what kept me alive for a very long time when I was a rookie.
Yeah.
Well, I know way too many people that do this. There's too much diversification. Right? In other words, I talk to a guy in the diner in the morning that doesn't know anything about my world, and he tells me how he's selling real estate. I go to church, and that guy doesn't know the guy in the diner, and I talk to him, and he talks about how he's doing real estate. I go to Home Depot, and I talk to the guy that's the electrician that's working there, and he tells me about how he just flipped the house. You understand what I'm saying? So so it's diverse, right?
Yeah.
So what kept me going is a lot of people, all different walks of life, have done real estate and have made money. So I believe this works. So what I would do is I would query what I was doing or what I was thinking first. Like when I first started, I bought coaching from Richard Roop, who was one of Ron LeGrand's students. And when I was in coaching, my partner taught me a very valuable lesson, who's 20 years older than I am, 20, maybe 30 years old, 25 years older than I am, right? So what he taught me was, whoa, Bill, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm doing blah, blah, blah. Did your coach tell you to do that? And I'm like, well, no, but. And he's like, no, but.
No, but.
We paid him good money. You do what he said. That's what we're paying him for. You do what he said. Now, if you try it a couple times and it doesn't work, and you converse with the coach and it still doesn't work, then we'll talk about changing it. But you have to, because at the time I think we paid 10 grand. So this is 20 years ago. So that's like probably 25 grand now, right? I'm guessing, but it was a lot more. So he's like, we paid him good money. You do what he says first. And then if it doesn't work, you go back and say it didn't work. And then you go back and say it didn't work. And then after a while, if you've exhausted all of the avenues, then you finally say, okay, but what I'm saying is you have to persevere. Yeah. You always have to take a look at what did I do wrong first. Because you are the novice. You are the one that hasn't done it. You are the one without experience.
That's right.
So you always have to take a look at, you have to look inside first. I know that one of the rules, I should have probably put this down, but you ever have something that you've done and you make a mistake? Something you do, anything, you make a mistake, right?
Sure.
And you're like, son of a bitch, why did I do that? And it kind of like hangs around in your mind or your head or your universe, whatever you want to call it, hangs around in your world for a little while.
Yep.
And you can't seem to shake it.
Sure.
I figured that one out too. You know what I do when that happens? First of all, if it hangs around and I have a lot of attention on it, there's a reason.
Yeah.
And here's what I learned. The only way to dissolve that in your mind is to turn it into a lesson.
Absolutely.
Like, so if you fail at something, like I talked to this client and I lost this deal. I shouldn't have said blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So what you do is you say, okay, well, the lesson, right? Because experience only has two things to measure with, right? Experience is it worked or it didn't work, right? So experience has two things to measure with, right? So it worked or it didn't work. So if it didn't work, you need to say, okay, this didn't work. What lesson did I get from this?
At least.
And what you'll do is you'll start to notice some of your habits start changing. You'll start to introspect yourself and start noticing, oh my God, I do blah, 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 and I didn't even know I do it.
Yep.
Because now you can take a look at yourself with a third eye and say, I shouldn't be doing that. And you can make some life-changing experiences by doing that.
Yeah, well,
right?
that's the only way you can live. I mean, in anything.
Right.
You know, you forge ahead, you're a kid, you fall down, and why did I fall down? Well,
Right.
I have to watch that step. Or whatever it is, you have to like come up with a way to fix it. And then if you don't, you'll worry about it because you lose. And you can't lose.
Right.
You can't afford to lose.
Worry does nothing. Worry doesn't change anything. All it does is keep you anxious. And the definition of anxiety in my mind is not knowing what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
Right? So, Pete, let's back up for a second because I just realized, can you give us a definition of persevering? I mean, I can, but I thought maybe you'd be better at
Well,
it.
persevering means you keep going no matter what happens. You continue. It doesn't mean doing the wrong thing necessarily, but continuing. While you're continuing, hopefully, you're figuring things out so you do it better. But
Right.
I've heard you can say it the opposite, or another angle is you never fail until you stop. You never fail until you quit. I mean, life is long. You just keep going. There's so many stories about people who became famous and rich actors and celebrities or business people at the age of 40, 50, 60, 70, and they became famous
Right.
or rich or successful, call it that, at an older age. So what are you going to do? You're older or whatever, you're younger, you're older. What are you going to do, sit around? Why are the Rolling Stones still doing concerts at the age of 80?
Yeah,
they don't want to sit
exactly.
around. Keep going.
Yeah.
They learned
So
from a
the,
lot of mistakes.
so the Google definition of persevering is continue in a course of action despite difficulty or delay in achieving success.
That's good.
Okay?
Yep.
Number 4, be honest. Always. No white lies. The little lies are no different than the big lies.
Yep.
I have said this a bazillion times, and I know because you are the same way, which is the reason why you and I think the reason why the two of us stay together so long. Mm-hmm. Being the most ethical person in the room in every situation I'm in has paid off in spades.
I like the way you say that. You said it last night. Be the most ethical person in the room. I like that. It'll make you a leader.
Yeah. I have found so many times in my career that the world is a lot smaller than you think. Right? Like I was just doing some enhancement, and I was down in Florida, and I was around a bunch of people from around the world.
Yeah.
And sure enough, every time I know someone, or I used to run a business group for 10 years, and sure enough, one of the girls that I helped, Deirdre, comes over to me and starts telling me about how much, because she knew nothing about business, and my wife and I helped her, and she stood in, good morning, Johnny. She stood in front of me, like practically in tears, and told me about how much my wife and I helped her. And she was bragging because she says, I have 18 employees right now, and I donated last year $250,000 to my church because of what you guys did to help me.
You know, I didn't know that connection at all. I know Deirdre, but not that much.
Yeah.
I saw a Facebook post the other day looking for another remote online employee full-time for my business. So she's up to 18. I didn't know your
18.
connection. That's awesome, Bill.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying it's a small world. Now, I haven't seen her in years. I had no idea what she did or what she listened to and how she took it and kept going. Now, I'm not the only reason. All I did was open a door for her. I showed her. Actually, what I did for her is exactly what we did last night on the meetup with her business.
No kidding. I mean, really?
Yeah, that's why I remember. That's why I'm telling the story. I was telling it the other day in an email too.
Yeah.
So now pay attention to this. You're the most ethical person in the room. This is like the dominoes effect. One unethical domino falls, and many more follow. Or vice versa, meaning the opposite way. One ethical domino falls, and many more follow. Be the most ethical person in the room.
Yeah. Choose your dominoes carefully.
Yes. Number 5. Don't get emotional about your deals. I've seen too many lose thousands, tens of thousands, and more of dollars because they feel like they should do something. They have a fixed idea in their head. They're not flexible. Or they fall in love with the house or the deal or tried to make deals that were not deals to begin with. One of the biggest problems I have with rookies is this weird phenomenon. I call it the scarcity mentality. They get one deal or a sniff of one deal because the person said, yeah, I consider doing monthly payments. In the beginning, I was doing calls with my coaching clients, and they would call me up and tell me how motivated this seller is. And I'd be on the phone with them for literally 3 minutes, and what I realized is they were motivated to get their cash and not pay closing costs and get as much money as possible.
And not share any.
They were motivated, all right. They were motivated to get what they wanted.
Yeah.
Which is, at that point, we went on a whole string of, like, what is motivation? Right? And I'm going to give you that definition. This is taking you and I, 7 years to figure out the definition of motivation.
Yeah, for our purposes in houses, exactly. We talk about motivated sellers. What kind of motivation exactly fits? So what do you come up with?
So they say yes more than they say no. So when you want to do something, like you want to do a subject to deal, they say yes more than they say no. Or you want to do a lease option deal, they say yes more than they say no. Right? So that it interconnects them to what you want to do. Instead of like, I've had many definitions, but that is the right definition. A motivated seller, a truly motivated seller says yes more than they say no.
There's different kinds of definitions, the way you can explain things. I think that would qualify as an action definition. You can see it actually happening. It's not something in your head. It's not something the person said, but it's something they're doing. And what can you trust better than what people are actually doing?
Right.
They're saying yes, but of course they have to sign the memorandum, and if they do, no, you're in. Better than saying no to everything you're asking.
Right.
Take monthly payments? No. Discount? No. Oh, you got a deal? No.
So remember, number 2 is don't rely on opinions of others. Right? So what you're doing is you're looking, you're listening. You look, don't listen.
Yeah.
In other words, you pay attention to what they're doing, not what they're saying. Right? So these are things that you gauge, like how you should be emotional in a deal. Like, are they keeping their word? Do their words match their actions? That's trust, right?
Yeah.
Do their words match their actions? So I'm going to read this paragraph over again because the next paragraph is connected to it. So I've seen too many lose thousands of dollars because they feel, or they fell in love, or tried to make deals that are not deals to begin with. This is why the pre-screening process is the most valuable step in our game.
Yep.
You have to decide. The magic of being a creative real estate investor is not the sentences. It's not all the things. It's not the deal structuring. It's not the houses. It's not any of that. It comes down to pre-screening. Are they in or are they out? So basically, I've narrowed it down in creative real estate to these 2 things. And this is the pre-screening process. Are they willing to take monthly payments until we can pay them off? If no, are they willing to give us a sufficient amount of discount that we can do one of our 7 deals with?
Yep.
If they're willing to do one of those, if they say more yeses than nos to those 2 things, pre-screening over, move on.
Yep.
Right? Now, between you and I want to give you a lot of kudos for this because it's a phenomenal question. So you ask someone, what's more important to you? Getting your price or closing quickly? Mm-hmm. So nowadays, the number one answer is getting your price.
Yeah, unless they got some kind of problem, they have to go someplace, job,
Right.
something. It's gonna be money.
Well, even nowadays with the market the way it is, they think they even if they have a problem, they know they can just put it in the market and they can get top dollar. So they're always saying
quick.
price right now.
Yeah.
And then
quickly.
you invented the sentence, okay, what's more important to you? Your price or keeping more money? Right?
Yeah.
And those 2 questions help you pre-screen a lot.
Yep.
Right? So the bottom line is you need to find out the 2 pre-screening questions. It's not a long process. Are they willing to take monthly payments until you can pay them off? If no, how much of a discount? And is that discount enough to fit in one of the 7 deals? Like if it's a 10% discount, you do a slot. If it's a 0% discount or like very little, we'll say up to 5% discount, it's a slot deal. If it's a 10% discount, you do an option. If it's a 15% discount, then you can give them, you can do a lease option, rent to own with them.
Yep.
Right? So that's all in the training. If you go to flippinghousesforrookies.com and you go to courses on the top, or go all the way down to the bottom of the page and it says Create Real Estate 101, it'll teach you all those. Right? Mm-hmm. Number 6, keep simple but good records. Now, you and I are working on this. Actually, we're not, and I need to talk to you about this when we hang up because we're not doing this and I need to put this back in.
Yeah.
You can't manage what you don't measure. Mm-hmm. If you don't measure last week's outflow against this week's outflow, you will for sure have booms and depressions, ups and downs. Most important, inconsistent income. Okay, there's 3 major statistics, or actually 4 major statistics that you should measure. One is the amount of outflow.
Yeah.
Number 2 is the amount of inflow. Okay? So the outflow says how many pieces am I sending out? How many letters am I sending out? How many texts am I sending out? That's one number. The amount of inflow tells you how effective those letters are, how effective those texts are, and how effective your marketing is. If you don't measure the 2 of them, you don't know.
Sure.
The next thing is how many offers are you making and how many memorandums are you signing. So it's the same thing, right? So how many offers are you making is the outflow. How many memorandums are you getting back in? That's the inflow.
Cool. I hadn't thought of it that way, but it's true. Because you're making an offer, you're sending something in writing, and then they're saying yes back, acknowledging and accepting it. That's very important, obviously.
Right, but listen to what I'm saying. You're measuring yourself. Like, if you're making an offer, how many memorandums are you getting? Because if you're making a bunch of offers and no memorandums, then you're saying the wrong shit. You're doing the wrong stuff. Your offer presentation is off.
Right, so you would back up to see what you did just before that.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. And you probably have a better ratio than most people, but you still want to measure. Like if it's 1 for 1, you're a magician. If it's 1 out of 10, what are you doing wrong?
Right. And then in final, if you want to take it one step further, you could measure how many closing docs did you prepare, and how many got signed.
So is that the same thing in outflow and an inflow?
Yeah, so if you're making the closing docs and you're giving them to your seller and they're not signing them, then you're either doing the presentation wrong or something's in the docs, or you go all the way back to your presentation. You didn't tell them about something and you spooked them.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the 6. I gave you 6. I said it was 4, but I gave you 6 because I'm cheating. But the first one is outflow, inflow. Mm-hmm. How many pieces out? How many responses? Yep. The second group of statistics are how many offers, how many memorandums signed.
Yeah.
The third set of statistics are how many closing docs did you prepare and give to a seller, and how many were signed.
That's really interesting to me because I hadn't thought of that. We're working more on the front end. We do much more front end than, it takes a lot of outflow, inflow before you get the next level. But that's very clever. I hadn't thought it that way, but it's true.
Thank you.
There's it's like communication. You say something, they say something. Then you say something, they say. Like it's conversation, but it's this back and forth. That's very clever.
Yeah. So what you're doing is by statistic, see if I had to run your statistics, I would want to know what you're doing. So I want to manage by those numbers, like last week compared to this week. So last week your outflow was say 100 pieces. This week, you're 50.
Yeah.
Well, there's a law, and I've heard this in many different places, but your outflow doesn't always come into effect until 4 to 6 weeks later.
Right.
Sometimes it takes 4 to 6 weeks. A lot of people say it takes 2 to 7 contacts before somebody even sees you. Mm-hmm. And what that means is not that they're ignoring you or they don't see your communication. It's kind of like the old story, when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive.
Right.
So it may take you 2 to 7 times before the student arrives for the teacher or finds the teacher. It's just because all of a sudden something happened in their life and they're like, oh, I should check into this. Before then, it wasn't relevant. It wasn't something they were looking for. So it takes 2 to 7 hits or 2 to 7 contacts before they sometimes even notice you.
Well, you can see the plumber ad for 2 months until the faucet starts leaking. There's no reason to call. But when you do call, you go, who is that guy I saw 7 times in the ad, in the billboard, or the supermarket bulletin, whatever it is.
Right.
You might as well be visible.
Exactly. So keeping simple but good records. Now here's the final part of that. Mm-hmm. So we understand that those are the records we want to keep. We want to keep some sort of statistics, right? Which you could do in Google on Google Sheets in Excel. It's like not hard at all, right? Here we go. Here's the punchline.
Yeah.
Almost inevitably, you will stop doing what was successful in making money if you don't measure it.
Wow.
You won't know what it was that was making you money in the first place. I could tell you, I talked about this before. You buy a house, especially rookies, you buy a house, and all of a sudden you're all excited because you bought a house. I mean, I have my guy from Alaska is doing this right now. He bought a house and he stopped coming on the coaching calls. He stopped being part of the group, and he's off renovating this house, not doing any more outflow. He stopped everything because he has a house, and that's all goody, and he spends 2 months getting the house ready and trying to sell it, and then he comes back after he sold it, he makes a bunch of money, but guess what?
He's out of a job.
That money has to count for about 6 months because he spent a month or 2 finding the property, then he spent a month or 2 renovating the property, and then he's got to spend another month or 2 to get things going again.
Yeah.
So whatever money he makes didn't make it in that month. It took him all the time because he stopped the outflow, right? So my point is that if you don't measure, right, this success, you don't know what it is, right? So what I'm saying is that the definition of success, I think I did this later on, the definition of success is doing more right things than wrong. Mm-hmm. So you need to know what are the right things.
Yep.
If you don't
and
measure,
the wrong if you know what the wrong things are, you should stop them. Stop wasting your time.
Right. Good. Number 7. Be enthusiastic. Right? There's a saying says wax enthusiasm. That means if you're not enthusiastic, don't pretend, but definitely mock it up
Yeah.
for a
Create
couple
it.
minutes.
Yeah.
Don't fake it.
You have to psych yourself up sometimes.
Right.
You know.
And I'll tell you what I do, because I'm horrible with this, is because when you look at me, sometimes my face, I don't know why, I got my father's face. I just look grouchy all the time. You know what I mean? So I try to smile. I just try to smile all the time. Mm-hmm. And it just changes my emotional feelings.
Yeah.
My overall tone. It raises my overall tone. Right? Or emotions. Right?
Yep.
Now, you're going to like this one, Peter.
Uh-huh.
There is a saying. So we're on number 7. Be enthusiastic. There's an old saying. This is back from the 40s and the 50s. Probably the 30s and the 40s. Mm-hmm. If you don't effervesce, you're just plain water. Effervesce, I'm saying effervesce is means that you give off bubbles. It means water's giving off bubbles.
Yeah, sparkly bubble water, right?
Right. So if you don't effervesce, you're just plain water. Right? And effervesce means bubbling water, right? Being emotionally bought into your work and enthused is a rare commodity these days. Most don't do it. They're after the money. They're after what they want. I need to make $30,000 because I want to pay my bills, because I got pressure at home, because. They forget that the only way that they're going to get that money is to help their seller and then help their buyers.
Yep.
So if you're enthusiastic about being that unbelievable customer service agent and helping those people, even if you don't know what you're doing, you say to them, oh, well, I don't know about that. Let me go find out. They're going to teach you your business. They're going to give you experience, because once you go figure out how to solve that problem with the seller, you'll do it. I do this a lot with with everything that I do. It's a secret. My coach taught me this.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah.
I learn out loud. So I'll be like last night. I had no idea how I was going to run the meetup last night, but I put it there. For 2 weeks, I promoted, this is what I'm going to do. And because I had a deadline, and which deadlines are important, right? I mean, think about this. If you didn't have death, would you try to get everything in this one lifetime?
No, probably not. No.
Right. See what I'm saying? So deadlines are important, right? So I put a deadline there.
That's taking the word deadline to the extreme, Bill. You really
Exactly.
dead. There's
Exactly.
a deadline.
Exactly.
Here it
So
comes. Ouch.
exactly. So what I'm saying is like with my meetup last night, I promoted that I was going to give you all the steps, and it forced me to put time aside, and I had to go find software to do this. I had to do research. It took me probably 6 or 7 hours to prepare for last night's free meetup.
Yeah.
If I didn't have to do these podcasts every single Thursday morning, I wouldn't spend the 5 or 6 hours a week doing the research and coming up with what I want to do and organizing my thoughts. Mm-hmm. The deadlines are important, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that's how you're being enthusiastic, is by thinking out loud or learning out loud. You say to your seller, I'll help you with blah, blah, blah. Even if you don't know how, it'll force you, because you know you got to call them back tomorrow at 3 o'clock to tell them the answer. It'll force you to go learn. It's amazing.
Yeah, and it's okay that you don't have all the answers. If you did, or if you pretended to be, they would know you're a liar. It's okay to not know everything. Even teachers don't know everything. The correct thing is, I'll go find that and I'll get right back to you. You find the book, you call somebody, you find the right person. Let me get back to my mentor. Let me check with my contractor friend. I'll ask my lawyer. And they believe you more. Wouldn't they trust you more to do that?
Absolutely.
To make up some
You're telling them the
answer?
truth. Well, because you're being vulnerable and you're telling them the truth.
Yeah.
Rocky, thank you so much. He said it was awesome. He was talking about the meetup last night. He was there. And he sends me support tickets all the time. Never knew what he looked like, and then I got to see him last night, so it was really cool. So
Look at
thanks,
that last
Rocky.
name, Mastro Domenico. That's a nice Italian boy.
Yes, it is. All right, number 8. Look at your valuable final products. These are funny words. I messed around with these words, and I really, this is the way I was taught how to do this. Look at your valuable final products that you exchange for with new eyes. Mm-hmm. So bottom line is, if you don't have something of value for somebody else to want, then you don't have money.
Well, don't people worry a little bit like, what if I buy the house and I can't sell it? Maybe not today's market, but at some point. Well, we know people that bought a house, renovated it, and they lost money because they couldn't sell it. It was overpriced or whatever, right? So you have to know that answer.
Right. So Susan says, people appreciate it so much when you follow through and get back to them because most people don't. So true. Susan, I'm going to take it one step further, and we're kind of behind on time. So, but I want to validate what you're saying so much. Here's what happens. There's so much automaticity, robots texting and, investors scraping lists and, so I have run into, because I'm on the phones all the time, I run into, why would I want to take a discount on my house? I have 12 people texting me every day or every week. And my response to that, Susan, is, how many offers have you gotten? And it's always dead silence.
Yeah.
How many people have you gotten on the phone with, like me right now, that are giving you hard offers, giving you choices on how you can sell your house? And it breaks the monotony like really bad.
Yep.
So Susan said exactly. That's exactly right. Okay, so what I'm saying here is that I'm telling you from vast experience. And Peter, I know we're out of time and we still got 2 more to go. So if you could do this quick. How many people praise us in a house when we just go through the cost to sell with them?
Everybody.
So there's your value. If you just set it up in your head that if I just go teach somebody, either on the phone or in the house, I prefer you do it in the house, you just teach someone the cost to sell, the numbers that we go over. I'm not going to go over them now because we don't have time. It's a tremendous value for them, and if you did that enough times, you would buy a house.
Yeah.
So Mother Nature says, nothing stays the same. It's either growing or dying. Mm-hmm. Agreed?
Oh, yeah.
And real estate is always in some high or low state of existence. So keeping your eye on what your statistics are and the trends often will show you indicators way before the upcoming change. Okay? Yeah. They'll just pop out at you.
Yeah.
Like we used to, every time we say what would have to happen when we ask a certain question, it would provoke this certain answer. Well, all of a sudden it's not provoking that answer. That's what I'm talking about. Keeping your eye on what you consider to be valuable, because what you consider to be valuable might change because markets change. Like right now, helping people get off of their payments, like pre-foreclosure and all that kind of stuff, is not valuable because they know they can just get cash.
Yep.
So you need to figure out how to keep an eye on that, your third eye on that, and change it when it stops working. And don't do like what we just did, go too long before we see that or before I saw that. Mm-hmm. That's why this is in there, is keep an eye on it, because when the market changes, what you have been doing may not work anymore.
Yeah, the way I learned that business-wise is a very short line. Stay in present time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what's happening now? Well, it wasn't broken yesterday. The car was okay yesterday. Who cares about yesterday? It broke today. It's not going to break little by little. But, things will shift. You got to stay in today's market and today's environment.
Or more importantly, you have to, even though you've told 10,000 people what a lease option is, you have to do it in a new unit of time. Like you've never done it before, like it's your first time doing it. well, this is how a lease option works. And you tell them like this is your first time doing it.
Yeah.
And that's where the enthusiasm comes in. That's when I was talking about enthusiasm. You have to be enthusiastic about it because like you've never done this before and it's your first deal. I mean, think about somebody like me that's done hundreds and hundreds of transactions. I have to do it. I have to do every one in a new unit at a time. I have to do it with my coaching clients. I have to do it with my sellers. I have to do it with my buyers. I have to mock up enthusiasm like I haven't done this 200 times.
Yeah. Now, if you come across bored there's a lot of emotions with it. There's enthusiastic, there's bored, there's angry, we saw a guy at the last workshop we were at, and they were making calls from the front of the room to like prospects for the people in the audience, one of the things they do. And when they get somebody, they call the person up on the stage. One guy walked up like he's going to go to get his head chopped off, like he didn't want to be there. It's so slow. When he stood up there, it looked like he was dead. Like, who would want to talk to that guy?
Right.
It just, I didn't even want to go have lunch with the guy. Like, show a little enthusiasm, show a little life. Oh, my God.
Exactly.
How
All right, number 9.
A deal like that.
Number 9, control your own neediness while you look for and build your seller's neediness. Control your own neediness while you look for and build your seller's neediness.
Yeah.
Don't put your seller on a pedestal because they have something you want. Don't praise them, especially when you're buying $1 million houses. If you don't have $1 million and you have no way, and $1 million is a lot of money to you, don't put them on a pedestal. The only thing that can happen when you put somebody on a pedestal is they look down on you. You're not on the same turf. Which is why I always say you focus on what you can control yourself. You want to lose 50 pounds, don't focus on you want to lose 50 pounds. Focus on, I can stop eating ice cream every night. I can get up tomorrow morning and go to the gym. You can control that. You can't control the 50 pounds yet. You can control your behavior and habits. That's what you should look at.
Yep.
If you don't have answers with your sellers, like we talked about, be honest and tell them that you'll need to go figure it out, right? So control your own neediness while you look for and build your seller's neediness. So what that means is if you're desperate to buy a house, it's going to leak through. I mean, think about this. How many times have most of us been to a used car lot and the salesman's trying to put us in a car that we didn't even come in to look at?
Yeah.
Because it's beneficial for him, because he gets a bonus if he sells it to you, or because that car has been on the lot too long and there's a special bonus for him to sell that to you. He is not looking out for you, he's looking out for him. So if you don't like that feeling with the used car salesman, don't do that with your seller, because you're desperate to make 30 grand or because you're trying to just like do something that is unethical, not the greatest good for the greatest number involved. They feel that.
Yeah, watch the next time somebody calls you and tries to sell you something. I tried to do some solar panels on my house, and it was the most annoying 2 or 3 hours I spent with somebody. He was being very nice about it, but I just didn't feel like he had my best interest at heart. Eventually I had him, I didn't throw him out. I was like, okay, I'm done, you can go home now.
Exactly.
And then I got more calls from other people. So I thought to myself, oh my God, I hope I don't sound like that when I call people.
Totally.
Just think about the next time somebody tries to sell you the next car warranty, the next solar, just see what it feels like. Don't be that guy. Ask yourself, what do I wish he was asking me?
So McDonald's has it best. McDonald's has it best. Yeah. You order your meal and they say, you want to make it a biggie size? And it's a yes or no. Some people will say yes, some people will say no, but that's the end of it, right? All right, good. So we need to keep moving. Yeah. So in this particular case, think behavior, forget results. If you adapt what we're talking about today as your behavior, it will bring results. So when I say neediness, I'm talking about not thinking about the results. That's neediness. Thinking about the results, thinking about the results, thinking about the results. What I'm saying is control what you can control yourself, and that's your behavior. So think behavior. How are you behaving with the seller? Stop thinking about the results. And that alone will pierce the neediness. And start thinking about how you can help the seller with their neediness. And it will change everything.
Yep.
First, you have to spot it. Second, you got to help them with it.
Yep.
Right? And that's where the discovery stage of the closing call comes in. Number 10, be curious. Although curiosity killed the cat, it is very healthy for a creative real estate entrepreneur. Always keep a keen eye and ear open for information that sellers give that does not match. Example, you could have a 20 to 30 minute conversation with a thought-to-be seller to only find out at the end of the call that they're not on the deed. They're not the person you need to be talking to. And was pre-screening you for the actual seller.
Oh, they're pre-screening us now. Oh, man.
Right?
Turning the tables on us.
Another good example is they tell you they will make monthly payments, but want a 50% deposit. Or will only take payments for 3 months.
Right.
Right? These are contrary facts. Contrary means opposite in nature, direction, or meaning. So if they say they'll take payments, it's opposite of what you mean. Yeah, they'll take payments for 3 months. It's a contrary fact. Take payments in 3 months, or they both seem to be true, but they won't do what you want. They're opposite of what you want. Right? If you have two facts that present themselves as a truth, but in fact are opposite in nature, or seem to be in disagreement with what you said earlier, or opposite of what you expect or desire, you'll get misled.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, this is the hardest thing for me to teach.
Really?
Because people don't observe the outpoints. They don't observe the contrary facts. They're not obvious to some people that they're opposite of one another.
Do you think this is also true? I know a very good salesperson who used to help people with things, and I watched him work with people, and they would say something, and I'm thinking, ooh, that isn't good. And instead of him just like trying to go by it and like make believe it didn't happen, he would say, what just happened? Like, what did you say?
Yeah.
Like, what's the problem? So it could be, in my opinion, that some people don't want to actually face the fact that the person really said that, and you have to ask them questions, which may blow up the deal or save the deal, but you can't ignore it. If they say something that doesn't sound right, you have to talk about it. You have a chance to, bring it back to life, but you can't ignore it and slide by.
Exactly.
That's not going to work. You have to talk about it.
Susan said curiosity killed the cat, satisfaction brought it back. That's good.
Okay.
All right, so be curious, find out the reasons, like what Peter's saying. Right? Notice the outpoints or the contrary facts. If it's not going the way it's supposed to be going, remember, more yeses than nos.
Yeah, I think you have to be willing to hear them. You have to be willing to let it happen, because you can't ignore it. If it happens, work on it.
So yes, I'll take payments, but, now remember, the word but wipes out anything in front of that sentence. When you say but, it wipes out anything that was just said. So yes, I'll take payments, but for only 3 months.
Yeah.
Those are two facts that won't align and won't make you a deal. If you learn how to do this correctly, you'll save your sanity, and you'll make more deals, and keep your dreams and goals from getting stolen right out from underneath you. This last one is probably one of the hardest to teach, but when you are curious and you dig in, then you'll find out so many things. And that's when people listen to me on the phones. The most compliments that I get, not that I need compliments, but are A, that I'm very conversational, and B, that I always find out what's going on, because I pay attention to contrary facts, and I look for inconsistent data or inconsistent information. And I'm constantly, because I know based on, all sellers are liars. And really what's happening is they're giving me their opinion of what they think should happen, and they've never evaluated or tested what they're saying to be true. Mm-hmm. So they're not even doing it intentionally. They just think this is what should happen. Right? You think you're going to go take your driving test and this is what's going to happen. And you get there and it's completely different. You think when you kiss that girl it's going to be this way, and when you get there it's completely different. You think when you talk to a seller it's going to be these certain ways, and as soon as you do, you find out it was nothing like what you thought. Mm-hmm. So in final, Susan says, if the deal blows up because you questioned something they said, then it wasn't a deal anyway. So true. So true. Mm-hmm. So true. All right, Peter, we're 10 minutes over. I've been making a habit out of this. I want to stop. So thank you for your time today. Peter, I can't say this enough. Thank you for doing 300 podcasts with me, being so reliable every single week to be with me. We used to do it in my house, in an office. Now we do them virtually. You are a definite stable terminal for me and for everybody that listens to us. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for all your dedication and your help in learning.
Well, thank you, because it helps me, and it helps you, and it helps other people. And that's the only way we can get anything done, by helping. So I've learned so much, and I hope people have learned a lot, and maybe you've even learned something, because when you must teach, you become student too. You learn from teaching.
Yep, exactly.
So it's beneficial to everybody.
All right, cool. So don't forget to go subscribe to us wherever you're watching or listening to us. Please give us some sort of a review. Thank you, Susan. She's clapping, thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to us. Make sure you leave us a review. You can always go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. Rudy says, congratulations on 300. Thank you very much. Make sure you go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. You can find a support link on the top right-hand side. Also, we have a WhatsApp group. So if you're on WhatsApp Messenger, you can go to WhatsApp Messenger, and the name of the group is Let's Talk Real Estate. It's free. You can get in there. There's over 100 people in there, and we talk about real estate. Sometimes we don't talk about it for a week, and then all of a sudden the chat blows up, and we go for 2 days talking about something. So
yeah, you can ask questions in there. Ask questions, and there's so many people in there. Some won't have an answer. Someone's been through it. Someone knows what to do or found out, and you can ask. Help each other. Help each other.
Share your wins or your ideas. I have been. I'm on a new rampage. I've been doing a lot on YouTube. So if you go on YouTube, there's a bunch of videos I've been putting on there. You can go check that out too. All right. So thanks so much. We're over and out. Have a good afternoon, and we'll talk to you at episode number 301.
Hey, Bill, where's the party?
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.